Lewis Hamilton erupts at his engineer after falling short of the podium in Silverstone. Don't miss the radio meltdown and Riccardo Adami's reaction at the end. It wasn't the post-race glitter, the confetti, the flashing lights, or the rehearsed anthem blaring over the loudspeakers that truly captured what Silverstone was about. It wasn't in the waving hands from the podium, the trophy hoists for the cameras, or the carefully packaged soundbites. No, the soul of this race wasn't in what the world saw, it was in what it felt. It was buried deep in the tension of voices crackling through radios, in the instinctive fire behind the decisions that couldn't wait for logic, in the moments where visibility dropped to zero but greatness surged into full focus. That's where Silverstone's truth lived, in the invisible war between two drivers seated in identical red weapons of Italian precision, facing the same merciless storm, and reacting in opposite ways. Two men. Same team. Same cars. Same tires. Same track. Same nightmare of a sky dumping sheets of chaos across the asphalt. From the outside, they were twin soldiers under one flag. But from the moment the first droplets hit the tarmac and the circuit turned from racetrack to battlefield, everything changed. One man rose. The other receded. One wrote poetry with the steering wheel. The other got lost in the noise. Charles Leclerc, dripping with talent, but drowning in uncertainty, became the voice of hesitation. Every radio call was a question. Every sentence an echo of doubt. What do we do? Should we box? Is it time? His brilliance, so clear on a dry, stable day, melted in the downpour. He didn't drive with conviction. He waited for someone to guide him through the storm. And as he waited, opportunity vanished. But Lewis Hamilton? He wasn't waiting for anything. Not radar. Not charts. Not approval. He didn't need reassurance from engineers crunching numbers behind computer screens. He didn't need the weather model to give him permission. He was the model. He felt the shift in the air before the clouds even cracked. He read the track through the tires. He smelled the change in grip. While others blinked, he saw. While others guessed, he knew. On lap 13, when the rain turned from inconvenience to disaster, Hamilton didn't hesitate. He didn't stutter. He didn't ask. He declared, "Intermediates. Now. Not in 5 laps. Not if the forecast changed. Now." And when his voice came through the radio, there was no room for debate. It wasn't a suggestion. It was a command. And the crew? They snapped into motion like lightning. Not because they had to. Because they believed in the voice on the other end of the line. They could hear it. Authority. Focus. Fire. Hamilton dove into the pit lane like a missile, got the tires slapped on with surgical precision, and exploded back onto the track as if the storm was made just for him. While others tiptoed and spun, he danced. He didn't just survive the rain, he bent it to his will. His car looked glued to the road while others skated like amateurs. His throttle control was a masterclass. His braking? Ruthless. His lines? Sharp enough to slice through the fog. Every single lap was a declaration of dominance. Not loud, not boastful, but undeniable. He didn't need theatrics. His performance demanded attention. He didn't wave his arms or scream into the radio. His engine and his pace did all the talking. The track was a canvas, and he painted each lap with brutal elegance. Rivals? They didn't just fall behind, they disappeared in his mirrors. You didn't watch Hamilton, you felt him. He was an energy, a force, a storm wrapped in red. And when the chaos calmed and the race came to an end, he sat fourth on the timing sheet, but first in everyone's conversations. It wasn't the number that mattered, it was the statement. He wasn't supposed to challenge for the podium. He wasn't supposed to be there. But somehow, against the elements and in a car that hadn't been the star of the season, he was. Breathing down the neck of third like a lion stalking wounded prey. His finish wasn't about points, it was about power. About presence. About reminding the world who the hell he is. Leclerc? Lost in 14th. A ghost. Not just behind, but invisible. He didn't just get beaten by his teammate, he was erased by him. Not by a faster car. Not by better tires. By mindset. By instinct. By hunger. Leclerc asked what to do. Hamilton showed what to do. One searched for confidence. The other embodied it. One faded into the mist. The other became the storm. And that's the real story of Silverstone. It wasn't about a win. It wasn't about strategy simulations or tire wear. It was about who steps into the fire and who waits for the fire to pass. In the downpour, when grip was gone and certainty drowned with it, we saw something pure. Hamilton didn't just drive the car, he commanded it. He didn't just race, he owned every second. And while others radioed questions, he answered with lap times. That's what makes legends. That's what separates the names you remember from the ones you forget. When chaos hits, when the world blurs, when everything around you is screaming slow down, the great ones don't flinch. They speed up. They lean in. They trust their gut and take control. That's what Hamilton did. And in doing so, he didn't just leave a mark on Silverstone. He etched his name into the storm itself. What we witnessed wasn't just a race. It wasn't just a wet weather strategy call. It wasn't just another Sunday. What unfolded before millions of stunned viewers around the world was a live masterclass in pure, undiluted, high-pressure Formula One brilliance. It was the kind of moment that doesn't just separate drivers, it exposes them. It peels back the layers, strips away the media training, the engineering talk, the telemetry, the PR noise, and leaves us face to face with the raw, electric core of who can truly lead when the world starts spinning sideways. The rain didn't just fall. It came crashing down like a judgment. It blurred the lines between preparation and improvisation, between theory and instinct. And right in the eye of that storm stood Lewis Hamilton, not simply surviving it, but commanding it. While others hesitated, recalculated, or stared at pit walls frozen in uncertainty, Hamilton didn't blink. He didn't stall. He didn't question. He acted. With confidence. With precision. With an almost frightening sense of control. It wasn't bravery. It wasn't luck. It was dominance. Intellectual, emotional, and technical dominance. As the grip vanished and the spray turned mirrors into whiteouts, the entire field held its breath, waiting for guidance. But Hamilton didn't need guidance, because he was the guide. At turn 4, where the rear snapped unexpectedly, he didn't panic. He translated that wheel spin instantly into data, into strategy, into decision-making. At Abbey, that infinitesimal lift off the throttle? Not a mistake. Not hesitation. It was genius. It was intentional. And as he rolled toward Brooklands, a tiny, almost invisible brake bias adjustment told us everything we needed to know. This wasn't a man reacting to the rain. This was a man who had already seen the storm coming. And here's the part that makes it even more extraordinary. This wasn't even his car. The SF-25 is sculpted around Leclerc's preferences. The balance, the rotation, the braking feel, it's engineered for the other side of the garage. And yet, Lewis didn't just deal with it. He didn't just adapt. He made it dance. He made it perform like it was born from his own DNA. That's not adaptation. That's domination under foreign conditions. That's the hallmark of a generational force of nature. He didn't need the car to be perfect. He didn't beg for the weather to improve. He didn't wait for validation. While some drivers asked for help, Hamilton became the help. He transformed chaos into rhythm, confusion into clarity, strategy into instinct. It wasn't just a great performance. It was the kind of visceral, next-level God-tier execution that makes engineers speechless, that makes other drivers stare at the timing screens and just know they're watching something mythical in the making. Meanwhile, in the same machinery, in the same conditions, Charles Leclerc was stuck in a different reality. While Hamilton wrote the symphony, Leclerc was still trying to find the sheet music. The spray blinded him. The tires betrayed him. The information was inconsistent. And instead of making the bold call, he asked for answers. "Box?" he radioed, like a student unsure of the test, waiting for the teacher to nod. It wasn't a declaration. It was a question soaked in hesitation. And in that moment, the contrast was seismic. The team's response? Confused. Hesitant. Wrapped in layers of maybes and half-answers. But the truth is, it didn't matter. Because that moment wasn't about Ferrari's indecision. It was about Leclerc's. He had the wheel. He had the chance. But he didn't take it. He didn't grab the race by the throat and make it his. He let the race happen to him. And Formula One, especially in the rain, is ruthless to those who wait. 2 laps. That's all it took. 2 laps of delay. 2 laps of second-guessing. 2 laps where he could have pitted, could have acted, could have gambled. Instead he stalled, and in that short window, 5 seconds evaporated. 5 seconds that weren't stolen by bad luck or team sabotage. They were given away. Not because of incompetence, but because of absence. Absence of instinct. Absence of self-trust. Absence of command. It wasn't a technical failure. It was a psychological fracture. When the race screamed out for leadership, only one Ferrari driver answered, and it wasn't the one whose name is stitched into the seat fabric of that SF-25. Hamilton answered. Loudly. Decisively. Ruthlessly. Leclerc hesitated, and paid the price. Not with a crash. Not with a penalty. But with something far worse, the haunting knowledge that the moment was there, and he didn't take it. And now, as the rain settles and the rubber cools, the implications are impossible to ignore. This wasn't about who's quicker over 1 lap. It wasn't about who has more potential in dry qualifying. This was about who you trust when the sky collapses. This was about who takes control when everyone else is looking for direction. This was about who rises when the plans go up in smoke and only instinct remains. Lewis Hamilton didn't just race. He led. He didn't just drive. He dictated. Every twitch of the steering wheel, every lift of the throttle, every choice in those crucial minutes was a statement. I don't follow the storm, I control it. Leclerc, by contrast, didn't fail because of lack of speed. He failed because he waited for permission to be great. And greatness doesn't wait. This wasn't just Silverstone in the rain. This was a glimpse into Ferrari's very soul. A team split between 2 futures, one defined by instinctive brilliance, the other by unrealized promise. And in that brutal, beautiful moment of truth, the balance tilted. Not because of 1 lap, but because of 1 mindset. And mindsets? They don't lie. Ferrari's meticulously engineered decision-making system, a towering labyrinth of ultra-responsive telemetry inputs, machine learning tire models, dynamic climate forecasting tools, and complex predictive algorithms, was crafted to handle every conceivable scenario. It was built to process chaos, to outthink uncertainty, to calculate optimal responses before problems even appeared. On paper, it was flawless. It was genius. It was futuristic. But Formula One doesn't live on paper. It lives on instinct. On the razor's edge. On the pulse of the man inside the cockpit. And when Silverstone exploded into a whirlwind of spontaneous weather changes, erratic grip shifts, and minute-by-minute tactical chaos, that perfect system collapsed under the pressure of its own complexity. It hesitated. It paused. It begged for clarity that wasn't coming. Meanwhile, Lewis Hamilton didn't hesitate. He didn't pause. He didn't wait. He acted. And what he unleashed wasn't just a strategic override. It was something so much more powerful. Something that can't be measured by sensors or predicted by code. He reached into the very depths of his racing soul and summoned the one thing that can't be engineered: absolute clarity under fire. That rare, almost mythical inner stillness that only the greatest ever find when the storm is screaming around them. While the data flickered and strategy computers whirred in panic, Hamilton was locked in, calm, decisive, deadly. He didn't need the numbers to align. He didn't need charts, projections, or permission. He trusted something deeper. Something primal. Something earned. He trusted himself. Because Lewis Hamilton has danced in the rain before. He's waltzed through the fire. He's turned chaos into opportunity more times than the grid can count. Remember Turkey 2020, where the track was so slippery it may as well have been ice. He turned it into his playground. Germany 2018, where the rain fell without warning and others panicked. He soared through it. Japan 2007, in the eye of a typhoon? He didn't just survive. He thrived. These aren't coincidences. They're proof. Proof that when everything unravels, Hamilton rises. His driving that day wasn't just fast, it was visionary. He turned his Ferrari into an extension of his will. It didn't matter what tire he was on, what the radar said, or where the grip was supposed to be. He felt everything. Every gust of wind. Every shift in traction. Every change in rhythm. And he responded in real time, not with caution, but with command. While others adjusted, he dictated. While others reacted, he created. And as he carved through the madness with surgical precision, his Ferrari wasn't following the race, it was leading the narrative. This wasn't a battle of setups or pit stop timing. This was a war of mindsets. It wasn't about fractions of a second. It was about worlds of difference in belief, in courage, in control. Lewis wasn't just faster, he was inevitable. Every lap, he imposed his reality on the race, bending every variable in his favor through sheer force of will. It was no longer a matter of who had the better car. It was about who had the guts to seize the moment, and never let it go. And then there was Leclerc. Gifted? Absolutely. Blindingly quick on a clean lap? Without a doubt. But in that chaos, in that boiling cauldron of pressure, he looked like a driver stuck in mental quicksand. His hands may have been steady on the wheel, but his voice, oh his voice, told the truth. Every radio message wasn't a command, it was a question. Should I box? Are we sure about this? What's the plan? He wasn't racing. He was waiting. Waiting for instructions, waiting for approval, waiting for someone else to make the call. That's not leadership. That's survival. And in Formula One, survival is never enough. Because while Leclerc asked, Hamilton declared. His voice didn't tremble. It sliced. It landed like a hammer. Give me the window. I'll deliver the result. That's not a suggestion. That's not a hope. That's a statement of fact. And when a driver speaks like that, when a driver owns the moment, the entire garage shifts. The energy flips. The team doesn't just follow, they believe. The engineers stop second-guessing. The strategists stop hedging. The mechanics move like a synchronized machine. Not because they were told to, but because they know they're part of something unstoppable. Hamilton wasn't just racing. He was commanding an army. With every word, every lap, every move, he was reshaping the destiny of the race. His presence was gravitational. It pulled the whole team into orbit. He didn't need the perfect tire. He became the perfect storm. And that's what separates the good from the gods. In a sport drowning in data, where milliseconds matter and decisions are backed by billion-dollar systems, Hamilton reminded the world that instinct, pure, raw, unfiltered instinct, is still the most dangerous weapon of all. That you can have the best tech, the best team, the best tools in the world, but if the man behind the wheel hesitates, it's all meaningless. He didn't hesitate. Not for a second. And the difference was visible. Not just in lap times. Not just in tire calls. But in the air itself. You could feel it. The shift. The dominance. The inevitability. While Leclerc navigated with fear of being wrong, Hamilton drove with the certainty that he could not be beaten. And that certainty, that fire, that unstoppable mindset, is what wins races. It's what rewrites history. It's what turns a Ferrari into a missile and a storm into a symphony. Because when the chaos came knocking, Hamilton didn't run. He opened the door, looked it dead in the eye, and said, I am the chaos. Let's race. In Formula One, where everything is judged at the edge of control and the line between triumph and catastrophe is thinner than the paint on a front wing, there's a kind of power that doesn't show up on a stopwatch or in the gearbox. It's invisible. It's priceless. And it's more decisive than horsepower, aerodynamics, or even strategy. It's called trust. Not the kind of trust that's spoken, it's the kind that's felt. The kind that moves silently through the garage, that changes how a team breathes, how they plan, how they believe. And on a damp, cold, pressure-soaked Sunday afternoon at Silverstone, Lewis Hamilton wielded that trust like a weapon forged over 2 decades of relentless, brutal brilliance. He didn't just drive, he owned every second. While chaos unfolded around him, spray-blinding visors, grip disappearing unpredictably, tempers flaring over the radio, Hamilton was locked in, tuned into something no one else could hear. He wasn't reacting. He was orchestrating. Every corner, every downshift, every micro-correction wasn't a gamble, it was deliberate. While Charles Leclerc was wrestling the track, battling ghastly tooth and nail, and trying to fend off Alonso's relentless pressure, Hamilton was floating past problems as if he'd already solved them a day ago. This wasn't racing, it was command. And you could feel it in every frame of onboard footage. Leclerc's race wasn't just difficult, it was disintegrating. He radioed in concerns about balance, about tire temperatures, about visibility, about setup. Every message was layered with frustration. It wasn't just the car that was unstable, It was his confidence. He was second-guessing every lap, every call. And the worst part? The brutal, soul-piercing truth? They were in the same car. Identical machinery. Identical tools. Same power unit. Same tires. Same data. But while one driver turned that car into a scalpel, sharp, clean, devastating, the other turned it into a wild, twitchy question mark that had no answers. Hamilton didn't just outperform Leclerc. He redefined what performance looked like under pressure. And here's the thing, Hamilton didn't need a podium to do it. He didn't need fireworks, dramatic radio outbursts, or team orders. He did it with silence. With execution. With lap times that told the truth louder than any interview ever could. Every time he pulled off a clean overtake in conditions that made every braking zone feel like a gamble, he was sending a message to Ferrari's pit wall, to every engineer glued to the live data, and to every strategist recalculating their future. This is who you build around. This is what leadership looks like when everything's falling apart. By the time the race ended and Hamilton rolled back into the garage, he hadn't won the Grand Prix, but he had won something far more powerful. He'd stolen the room. The atmosphere. The momentum. He'd taken control without ever asking for it. He didn't need to demand respect, he radiated it. Every mechanic who glanced at the telemetry, every strategist rewatching his onboard footage, every decision-maker in Maranello watching from thousands of miles away saw it and felt it. There was a new axis forming inside Ferrari, and it was revolving around Lewis Hamilton. Leclerc walked in with the stats on his side. More points. More familiarity. More time in red. But Hamilton walked out with something Leclerc couldn't touch: command of the narrative. His fourth-place finish wasn't just 12 points, it was a spark. A shift. A ripple that will grow louder in every meeting, every upgrade discussion, every future contract negotiation. It was the moment Ferrari stopped just hoping to win, and started realizing they already had a driver capable of changing everything. No headlines were needed. No controversy. No PR storm. Just one man, one machine, and one race that will echo far longer than it appears on the calendar. Hamilton didn't just drive better. He showed better. He led better. He turned pressure into purpose, rain into rhythm, and doubt into dominance. And he did it all without saying a word. Inside the garage after the race, you could cut the silence with a knife. No yelling. No pointing fingers. Just eyes, watching, calculating, realizing. Every person in that team saw it. They saw what happens when a 7-time world champion gets his hands on the same car and bends reality with it. They saw what true control looks like, not just over the wheel, but over the hearts and minds of a team craving direction. Hamilton didn't grab Ferrari by force. He made them follow him. Willingly. Silently. Unstoppably. That's not just trust. That's power. Deep inside Ferrari's sacred fortress in Maranello, a storm is brewing, silent, invisible, but powerful enough to shift the foundation of an empire. It's not a technical issue. It's not a public crisis. It's something far more dangerous: doubt. Not the kind you read in headlines or hear in post-race interviews, but the kind that creeps through engineering departments, slithers into strategy meetings, and infects confidence like a virus. Ferrari, a team that prides itself on precision and heritage, is being pulled apart by a question that no one dares to ask publicly but everyone is wrestling with in private. When everything is equal, when all excuses are stripped away, who is the real leader? Who deserves to carry the hopes of the Scuderia into the next era? Who has it when it counts? Silverstone didn't ask that question. Silverstone screamed it. In identical cars with matching tire compounds, in the same suffocating conditions under a brooding English sky, Lewis Hamilton didn't just outperform Charles Leclerc, he annihilated him. Almost 18 seconds. 18. On raw pace. On execution. On feel. On grit. Not with luck. Not with strategy. Not with pit stop fortune. Just pure, unfiltered driving brilliance. That wasn't a race, it was a reality check. The difference wasn't the car. The difference was the driver. And when something like that happens, you don't go back to business as usual. You don't say they both did their best, and move on. You stare into the data. You rewatch the footage. You dissect every turn-in point, every brake trace, every throttle application. Because what Hamilton did wasn't normal. It wasn't explainable. It was a masterclass in pressure performance. And it left everyone inside Ferrari, from the top floor to the factory floor, asking the same thing: how the hell did he do that? This isn't about throwing Leclerc under the bus. He's lightning fast, emotionally invested, beloved by fans, and a part of Ferrari's identity. But this is Formula One, the most ruthless sport on Earth. It doesn't care about emotion. It doesn't care who's been loyal longer. It only cares about who delivers. And right now, Hamilton isn't just delivering. He's redefining what delivering even means. When a 7-time world champion joins your team, he brings more than just experience. He brings a gravitational pull. And slowly, race by race, lap by lap, meeting by meeting, that pull is growing stronger. Not because Lewis is asking for power, but because power is naturally gravitating toward him. The engineers feel it. The mechanics feel it. The marketing department feels it. The sponsors feel it. Everyone is starting to look his way, not out of obligation, but out of awe. At this level, leadership isn't assigned, it's claimed. It's earned in silence. Not with words, but with lap times. And at Silverstone, Lewis Hamilton didn't just make a statement, he delivered a full-blown manifesto. Without drama. Without theatrics. Just unrelenting performance under maximum pressure. The kind of pressure that makes careers, or crushes them. And make no mistake, this wasn't just a race. This was a psychological turning point. Silverstone didn't change the standings, but it changed the stakes. Ferrari is no longer just racing Red Bull or McLaren or Mercedes. The real war is internal. It's Hamilton versus Leclerc for the soul of the team. For the right to steer the future. For the keys to the kingdom. This isn't rivalry. This is survival. Every wind tunnel run, every upgrade path, every development meeting from now on will be shadowed by what happened that Sunday. Because now, every decision carries extra weight. Every choice to back one driver over the other echoes deeper. This is about direction. This is about Ferrari choosing between what they've known and what they could become. Leclerc has heart, no question. But Hamilton has presence. Presence that transforms the mood in a garage. Presence that demands excellence from everyone around him. Presence that makes people believe again, not because they have to, but because they want to. That belief? It's contagious. And once it spreads, it's unstoppable. Silverstone was more than a race, it was an awakening. A brutally clear reminder that in the theater of Formula One, there are performers, and there are game changers. Leclerc drove. Hamilton commanded. Leclerc raced. Hamilton orchestrated. One was good. The other was unforgettable. So now, Ferrari faces a choice. Keep playing safe. Or lean into the storm. Back comfort, or back the killer instinct. Trust in familiarity, or surrender to the gravity of a legend who's still writing history in real time. Lewis Hamilton didn't come to Maranello for a swan song. He came for one last masterpiece. And if Silverstone was the overture, then Ferrari better brace for the full symphony. Because once the music starts, there's no stopping it. And right now, it's playing in Hamilton's key. There comes a razor-sharp, destiny-defining instant in the life of every elite Formula One driver when they break free from the boundaries of machinery. When the car stops shaping the driver and the driver starts bending the machine to their will. It's not about downforce levels, engine mapping, or software updates anymore. It's about control. It's about instinct honed by experience, precision born from pain, and the rare electric ability to take absolute command when everything else is falling apart. For Schumacher, that awakening came in 1996, when he transformed a sluggish, unpredictable Ferrari into a monster of dominance at a soaked Barcelona. For Senna, it was Donington 1993, a chaotic blur of wet tarmac and clinical overtakes that felt more like wizardry than driving. And for Lewis Hamilton, it wasn't just a race, it was Silverstone 2025, a battlefield soaked in drama and uncertainty, where he didn't just drive. He took over. Not because he claimed the win, but because he made it clear to the world that when the pressure peaks and the chaos floods in, he doesn't just rise, he commands. From the moment the weekend began, everything felt off. The skies teased rain with each passing session. Track conditions twisted every lap into a gamble. Ferrari's car, the SF25, was far from harmonious. It twitched, it slid, it bit back at every misstep. The setup window was microscopic, the tire degradation borderline irrational, and the data flows gave the engineers more confusion than clarity. Strategy tools were useless. The models broke down. Ferrari's decision-makers looked overwhelmed, even paralyzed. Nothing synced. But amid the noise, the tension, the doubt, there was Lewis. And he wasn't flinching. He wasn't questioning. He wasn't reacting. He was dictating the rhythm of a race that had no rhythm. While others begged for updates, Hamilton became the update. His radio messages weren't desperate, they were surgical. He wasn't looking for answers, he was the answer. He didn't ask if the rain was coming, he knew when to pit. He didn't rely on strategy simulations, he rewrote them. Every lap, every corner, every braking zone was a message to the world: I'm still here. And I'm still that guy. His throttle was a scalpel, slicing through damp corners with the elegance of a ballerina and the focus of a sniper. He knew when to attack, when to breathe, when to let the chaos devour others while he created calm from it. He turned tire degradation into an asset. He treated turbulence like routine. He didn't drive the car, he possessed it. And Ferrari, a team drenched in history, a team that lives and dies by legacy, witnessed something rare, something spine-tingling. Not just brilliance, but dominance without noise. Hamilton didn't need fireworks. He didn't need headlines. His weapon wasn't raw speed, it was mastery. Quiet. Relentless. Total. Every team dreams of a driver who doesn't just sit in the cockpit, but takes ownership of the entire operation. At Silverstone, Ferrari got that, and more. Hamilton wasn't just turning laps. He was sending signals. To the pit wall. To the other teams. To every doubter watching. He was saying, I am the storm. And this chaos? It belongs to me. Now zoom out. Zoom into the other Ferrari. Charles Leclerc. Unbelievable speed. Outrageous raw talent. Brilliant in qualifying. But once again, when the lights went out and the track turned unpredictable, the cracks reappeared. Radio silence when there should have been certainty. Missed calls. Missed chances. Moments of brilliance, swallowed by hesitation. It wasn't a lack of speed, it was a lack of control. A lack of command. A repeat of painful chapters from 2022, 2023, years where his natural gifts were smothered by strategic fog and moments that needed fire but got doubt. While Hamilton orchestrated, Leclerc was caught in the swirl. He didn't guide the team, he waited. He didn't lead the chaos, he got lost in it. And Ferrari, for all its passion and fire, has never been a team that thrives under indecision. They follow leaders. Titans. Drivers who take the wheel and own every second, every turn, every variable. And that's why Silverstone 2025 wasn't just a race. It was a message. A moment when the difference between greatness and potential, between composure and collapse, was on full glorious display. It was Hamilton reminding the world that true champions aren't made in dominant cars, they're made in moments like this. When plans go up in smoke. When weather becomes an enemy. When every variable is your worst nightmare, and you still deliver. This wasn't survival. This was orchestration. Hamilton didn't just read the race, he wrote it. And in doing so, he reignited a fire in Ferrari that had been flickering for far too long. He proved that leadership doesn't scream, it commands. It doesn't panic, it prevails. And he proved that age isn't a wall, it's a weapon, forged from battles fought and lessons learned. He didn't take the checkered flag that day, but make no mistake, Silverstone 2025 belonged to Lewis Hamilton. Because when everything went wrong, he made it all right. When the team faltered, he stood taller. When chaos roared, he answered with silence and steel. And that's the difference between being a great driver and being the reason your team finds greatness again. Lewis Hamilton may be in the opening act of his Ferrari chapter, but already, he's sending shockwaves through Maranello, not with noise, but with undeniable presence. This isn't just a 7-time world champion stepping into a red car. This is a force of nature reshaping Ferrari from the core, not by shouting orders or giving motivational speeches, but by showing, relentlessly lap after lap, what greatness looks like when the lights go out and chaos takes control. He's not here to join Ferrari. He's here to transform it. To drag it, inch by inch, mindset by mindset, out of the shadows of nostalgia and into a new era forged in steel, precision, and unshakable belief. He's not whispering change. He's breathing it into every bolt of the machine, every conversation on the radio, every strategic pivot under pressure. And the scariest part for the competition? He's just getting started. Silverstone 2025 was supposed to be a celebration of the sport's heritage, a party at the home of racing. But when the race ended, it wasn't the champagne or the roars of the crowd that left the deepest impact. It was the silence. The absolute silence that fell over the Ferrari garage after Hamilton crossed the line. Not a silence of confusion or defeat, but one of realization. That in the midst of the madness, they had just witnessed something bigger than a podium finish. They had witnessed leadership in its purest form. Leadership that doesn't ask for respect. It earns it, demands it, commands it, with every perfectly placed tire, every inch of asphalt conquered. And in that silence, you could feel it. The old Ferrari, the one haunted by missed opportunities and broken strategies, was beginning to fade. Not because of a marketing campaign. Not because of promises. But because of him. Because of what Hamilton had just done when every variable went sideways and only instinct remained. He didn't flinch. He didn't fold. He thrived. And in doing so, he became the heartbeat of a team that finally knew who to follow. But this isn't a fairy tale comeback. This isn't romantic nostalgia. This is a cold, calculated shift in power. A quiet storm that's been gathering behind the scenes. While others are still focused on lap times and headlines, Hamilton is rewriting the playbook of how you build a championship team. Not by luck. Not by magic. But by culture. By discipline. By total, unapologetic obsession with doing things right. Every time he steps into that car, it's not just another race. It's another brick in the foundation of a Ferrari no one has ever seen before. A Ferrari not built on hope or hype, but on truth, sweat, grit, and standards so high they cut through mediocrity like a laser. He's not just driving faster. He's thinking deeper, reacting smarter, leading harder. And when the storms hit, when the world loses control, Hamilton finds another gear, one that only the legends possess. Look at the engineers now. Listen to the tone of the briefings. Feel the energy in the garage. Everything's tighter, sharper, hungrier. That's not coincidence. That's Hamilton's fingerprint. Every mechanic now double-checks what they used to assume. Every strategist now questions what they used to accept. Because when you share a garage with someone who operates on another level, you either rise, or you vanish. Hamilton isn't forcing Ferrari to change. He's making it impossible not to. Not with words. Not with drama. But with performance so intense it forces everyone around him to elevate, or get left behind. He's not just racing anymore. He's teaching. He's molding. He's awakening a giant that's been asleep for far too long. And he's doing it not with chaos, but with control. Every calculated risk. Every masterstroke in the rain. Every silent glance across the pit wall that says, "Trust me, I've got this." That's what's shifting Ferrari's soul. Slowly. Unstoppably. This isn't a comeback story. This is a takeover. Not through politics. Not through power plays. Through performance. Through presence. Through proof. Lap after lap. Corner after corner. Word by deliberate word. Hamilton is building something that doesn't just aim for championships. It demands them. And the rest of the grid? They should be terrified. Because when Ferrari stops chasing legends of the past and starts following the man who's redefining the future in real time, everything changes. This isn't the return of Ferrari. This is its reincarnation. Fueled by a quiet fire. Led by a living legend. Powered by purpose.